Hi everyone, so today I want to show you how I made this card. This is an inside shadow box card which I made previously on a live stream, but since editing live streams proves a little bit tricky, I thought I would just redo it as a tutorial. So I've used different papers than normal. So these papers here was actually card, is from my stash. I've no idea where they were from. Maybe a hunky dory or a Kanban, that's what they look like. The gems are from Lucy's shop. I'll put a link down below. This is just from my stash. I'm not sure where that was from originally. And then inside we have, it's quite difficult to show, a little bauble. If I can do it this way around. Little bauble, and this bauble is actually from Antonio Makes' new Christmas kit. So if you head over to www.antoniomakes.com, I think there's a pack called Christmas Baubles, and it's in there. If you use my code Louise10, you'll get 10% off your order. So that's what I've used, one on there, and then that's one of the other ones that he's got as well. So I've just used those two. Again, I've used more of this on the inside. These papers were from a Paper Addicts pad from a few years ago called Christmas Belle. Belle spelt B-E-L-L-E. And then on the back, we have somewhere to write. That stamp, I'm not sure where it was from. I think it was a freebie with the magazine. And then this sort of gradient paper almost, that was also from that Christmas Belle pack. So yeah, so that's the card. It stands up nicely. Obviously, it's like an internal shadow box card. And it's just a nice card to do. And there's so many things you can do with it. So yeah, so this card folds down to be a 6x4 footprint. So it will fit in an envelope for a 6x4 card. So yeah, so let's get into it. Okay, so for this card, you're going to need a few bits and pieces. So you're going to need two base card pieces that are 4 inches by 12 inches. Okay, we'll come to the rest of the bits in a moment. So if we start with these, you're going to need to score both of these. So you're going to score one of them at 6 inches along the long edge. And then you're going to score the other one at 4 inches, 8 inches and 10 inches. Okay, so that's your base card scored. So then what you're going to do is the one that you scored at 6, you're just going to fold it in half. So you're basically making yourself a little card blank. Okay, so that's your 6-inch card blank. Now you can either have it that way around or whatever way. I've got a little bit of a lip here, don't know why. Obviously I haven't got quite 12 inch here. And then on this one here, you want to turn it round, so you've obviously got your 2 squares and then your 2 rectangles. And this dividing line here, which is about 3.5 inches if you come from the other side, you want to do that as a valley fold. And then you're going to go for a mountain fold and another valley. So you're basically concertinaing them down. So let's just get these folded. So that's like that. Okay, so that is how you do that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to need to cut an aperture out of the front of our card. Now I'm going to be using a bit of a dangly thing, and I don't really like danglies, as probably some of you know. However, Antonio Makes just brought out some Christmas papers and Christmas stuff, and this is one of the things he's got. So he's got these printed baubles, and I've actually stuck another one on the back and then just cut them out together. And that's going to be in the middle of my window. So I think with that in mind, I'm probably going to do well to either have a really big circular aperture, which I think would look nicer, or to have a square one. So I'm going to have a look now, and we're going to bring out a die so that we can cut this aperture. Okay, so I've gone ahead and chosen a frilly one and a plain one. So this one here measures approximately 3 3/8 wide, and then this one from the widest point is about 3 3/4. I'm not sure where I got these from. I've had this very long time, and this as well I've also had a long time, and this was a set of nesting. Both of them were like nesting dies, but you can get, you know, plain circle nesting ones all over the place. So if I find any, I'll try and link them below. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually cut out of this middle piece. And I need to do my mats and layers first using this bigger piece, and then cut my aperture, because what I want to do is I want to have this pink piece as a frame. So yeah, so we're going to do that. So I'm going to bring in my mats and layers for the front. Okay, so you're going to need a 1 mat piece that is 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and a pattern piece that's 3.5 by 3.5. And what I'm going to do, because I want the border, I mean it could be white, but I want the border to be pink. I'm going to make it a pink border. So what I'm going to do is I just need to cut out of this one. Now this is going to be too big, I suspect. So I've just realised that my frilly scalloped circle is actually too big for the card. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it out of this one, and even that's quite large, and then I'll probably just leave it. It won't have a border because this is quite big, and if I go any smaller it's not going to look right. So I'm just going to have to chance this, and this is going to be hanging on for dear life. When it gets onto this one it's going to be better, but yeah, it's quite tricky. So I'm actually going to stick this onto here and then die cut the two together. Again, that's a bit of a risk if I'm honest, because we might end up with not being able to cut through, but I think we'll be okay just because it's a plain shape. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to stick this down onto here. I'm actually going to use tape, not glue. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and stick this down onto the mat. Okay, so I've gone ahead and stuck it down. Not done it very straight, admittedly, but anyway, whatever. So now I'm going to go ahead, put this on here, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine and cut that aperture out. Okay, so I've cut that out, so that's what we're left with. And I just suddenly thought I probably should have put tape on the back of this to make it easier to stick down. But having said that, if I had done that, that would have added extra bulk. So we don't really want to do that. So now I'm going to do is bring this card back in again, and we're going to put this on in place. I'm not going to stick it down just yet. I'm going to take the die, so it's where I want it to be. It's sort of nice and relatively straight. And I'm going to put the die back on, and then what I'm going to do, using a pencil, I'm just going to draw around the inside of the die. Now the reason I'm drawing around the inside of the die and not the inside of the window is because if I drew around the inside of the window, then I wouldn't necessarily know where to put the die, because obviously it's just slightly bigger. So if I take this off, can you see you've got a bit of a gap? So we can now remove that, and then I can put this die back on, get it lined up nicely, because I've drawn around the inside of the actual die itself, get it in the right place. I'm going to tape it into position because I do not want that to move. I want it to be in exactly the right place. So I'm just going to put that like that, and then I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. Okay, so I've done that, I've run that through, so I'm just going to very carefully peel that off. Obviously you've got a nice little circle which you can use for all sorts of things. Oh, I've gone torn my paper bit there, but anyway, I've got the other side, and I can always stick something on top of that, so it's not the end of the world. So that leaves you with your little aperture. So then you can go ahead and stick this onto there like that. Okay, so now I've done that, what I need to do is I'm going to make a hole in the top of this, and I'm just going to use one of those things that you use to punch holes in belts, which is this, and I'm going to use the really, not the smallest one, but the next one up, and I'm just going to punch a hole in the top of the bauble, like where there's actually a little bit of a kind of a picture where you know, where it would go, where the little string would go through. So I'm going to punch it in there, and then I'm going to use nylon, you know, fishing wire type. It's not wire, but you know what I mean, this stuff that's like really invisible. So I'm going to use that to hang it from. Now it would be nice to use like a ribbon or whatever, but it's not really that heavy. So, and I'm not even sure if this is going to be, you know, if it's going to work or not, but we're going to give it a go. So I've cut myself a little bit of fishing wire, which is so invisible can't even see it. So here's my invisible fishing wire. I don't expect you to be able to see this because I can barely see it. And I'm just going to put the two ends together, and I'm going to thread it through and then loop it over. So there we go. And then what we're going to do is I'm actually going to attach this. I've cut myself off a little 1/4 inch strip, and this is actually the length like it's actually 4 inches, but I'm going to make it just slightly less than 4 inches, just so we don't have any problems with creases and stuff. So I'm literally shaving a tiny bit off. I'm just going to put a line of red tape on the underside like that. And then I'm going to take my bauble, take my card, I'm just going to spin my card round, and I'm going to put another bit of red tape on there. Now it doesn't have to be the whole length, it's just going to be where the fishing wire is going to go. And I'm just going to put it just above like that. In fact, I'm actually going to, no I'm not going to, I was going to measure it, but I'm not going to measure it. Okay, so then we just take this backing off like that, and we take our bauble and try and get it like that, position it where I want it to be, which is about there. I think that's pretty much central, like that, and stick the fishing wire to it. And then I'm literally going to peel this off and stick it down over the top, and that way it should trap the fishing wire so that then it doesn't get all baggy and disappear off somewhere. And this is going to go along the whole length. Now you don't have to do the whole length if you don't want to. The only reason I'm doing the whole length is just for neatness more than anything else. I mean, you can still see it, but you know, it's still neat. And then I'm just going to trim that off on the top. Now you might want to loop it actually round the bar so that you are more guaranteed of it, you know, being hanging okay. But that hangs okay. You can't really see it, you know, when it's upright, but that hangs okay. So yeah, so that's that bit done. So now we just need to decorate up. Okay, so to decorate, you're going to need a few mats and layers. So my mat is white, obviously. So you're going to need a 3.5 by 3.5 square, another one, to go here. Okay, and then you're also going to need 2 mats that are 1 3/4. Sorry, these are 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 square, and then you need 2 mats that are 1 3/4 by 3 3/4, which are going to go there. And then you also need 2 patterns that are 1.5 by 3.5 to go here, and 1 pattern that's 3.5 by 3.5, which is going to go there. So I'm going to go ahead and stick those pieces down. Okay, so I went ahead and stuck those down. So now what we want to do is bring back in our card blank, and on the front and the back of the card you need 2 matte pieces that are 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. So one's going to go there and one's obviously going to go on the back there. And then you need a pattern piece that is 3.5 by 5.5. Now depending on what your mat is, so if your mat's a dark colour, then you will also need a plain white piece that's 3.5 by 5.5. Because I have got because I did cut that out, but actually I'm not going to need that, I don't think, because I can just use this white piece. So I'm probably, oh, I quite like it though, but I might use it actually. So yeah, so there's my plain piece that's 3.5 by 5.5. You don't need, because I've got a white mat, I wouldn't necessarily need to use it, but I think I will. So we're going to go ahead now and just going to stick down those layers as well. Okay, so I've stuck down the thing on the front and the thing on the back, and now on the inside, so you need, you can do pattern and mat if you want, or you can just do pattern. I've gone to just do pattern, and actually I should have made it so they were slightly bigger, but it's fine, it doesn't matter, it's on the inside, so it's not a big problem. So on this, again, you're just using, same again, so your mats would be 1 3/4 by 3 3/4, you just have one of those. And this mat would be 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and then your pattern is one that is 1.5 by 3.5, and the other one's one that's 3.5 by 3.5. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to stick these down, and I'm going to hope for the best. Okay, so once you've done that, we now need to assemble our cards. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting some glue on the back of this square bit here. I would recommend using wet glue rather than tape. You can use tape if you want to. I just find, as always, you've just got a bit more wiggle room. So you've got a bit more time to make sure it's definitely lined up. So that's the only thing about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it over and we're going to marry it up, line it up to this edge here. And we're also going to make sure the whole thing is level and lines up all the way along. So I'm just going to make sure that, yep, it all lines up. That's good. And then what you want to do is bring this back like that. So bring this back over like that. Fold that in, and then you're going to put some glue on there, and then you're going to shut the card onto it. And the reason why you want to stick it that way rather than sticking it with it flat is because this is how the card is going to be shut. So it's more important that it shuts than, you know, having it all perfectly lined up and it being open, because obviously it's not going to be open when you post it. So we're just going to lay that down, bring this down, and just stick that down like that. And then while it's still a bit wet, you can just go and have a look and see. Yep, that's fine. And so then that gives you your basically your base of your card. So you've got your little dingle dangles in the middle there, which you can kind of see if I just sort of hold it when I turn it round. And so all we need to do now is I need to go and put a Merry Christmas on the front of the bauble. And then I also want to put something on the front here, and obviously got space to write on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I found a greeting in my stash, which I'm going to use on the front. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on in a moment. And then on the inside, onto the bauble, on that plain bit there, I was going to put a peel off, but actually I think I might use one of these little, again from my stash, pre-stamped Happy Holidays. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that on the bauble. Okay, so I've stuck that onto there, so that now dangles nicely inside. And then we're just going to shut this up, and on the front I'm going to put this on. I'm going to put it on pads. It is quite a bulky card already, but I'm going to put in gems on in a minute anyway, so it doesn't really matter if we add a bit more bulk. So I'm going to go ahead now and just stick some pads on this. And then again, as I said, I'm going to put some gems on. So these are Glossy Blossom Mix from Lucy's shop. Really love these. So I'm just going to scatter a few down, and I'm just going to lay a little whatever the word is, shower, I suppose, going down here. Okay, so there we go. So there's the finished card. It's quite plain on the front, but it's fine. I don't mind it so much. So it's got those lovely glossy pearls. Look how gorgeous those pearls are. They really shine. And then when you open it up, you've obviously got your bauble in the middle. Can't really show you very easily, but you'll see it on the photos, but it wobbles nicely. So that's that. And then on the back, you've then got space to write as well. So that's the card. So this footprint of this is basically 6 by 4, which is cool because that, you know, fits in most people's envelopes. So yeah, this is quite chunky because I've used quite thick cardstock, and obviously I've got the gems on the front and the pads, but you could make it a little bit slim if you want to. Just slim down your base card, your mats and your layers, and then that way you're not going to have, you know, such a bulky card. But yes, I hope you liked it. Please like, subscribe, leave a notification, leave a comment down below, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, and we'll see you next time. Bye.